Hello, everyone. Welcome to Meticulous Talks, May 15th. I am Cursor Gourds.
I'm Hithroc.
Welcome back, Hithroc. Good to hear from you again.
Hi. Was I away?
Well, I mean, for 2 weeks.
It's true. Then welcome back to you too.
Thank you. Yeah. Last week there was a tournament, OnlineCon 11. Hopefully, well, funny to think we've had 11 of these things. They've been going on basically once a month for the last, well, nearly a year.
Yeah, I mean, 11 is. That's about how many months are there in a year? I believe they started like in March last year, I think was the first one.
Right. Yeah, and then we've missed a couple of months. Then I suppose.
Hmm?
But honestly, I've actually quite appreciated um, having these extra tournaments throughout the year.
Yeah, it's been nice. Even though I haven't really had the chance to participate in the
You did,
late.
yeah.
Hmm?
Lately, you did participate in some of them, right?
Yes. Like in the last year, I think I've participated in a few of them. But lately, it usually doesn't line up too well with my schedule, unfortunately.
That is unfortunate. Yeah, we missed you last week.
Yeah, I heard it was good though,
It
like the
was.
tournament.
It was a relatively small field, unfortunately, only 6 participants, but a big wide variety of decks there.
That's exactly what I've been told, which sounds nice.
Yeah, I think would have appreciated you bringing purple something. I'm sure you would have.
Yeah, I would have brought my purple blue white deck
Hmm.
to see how it fares nowadays after the bans.
Yeah, but otherwise, we had. Yeah, I believe we covered after the tournament. They were all 6 colors there. Both, well, 6 colors over the course of the whole deck, and well, animator with all 6 of the colors. But we'll get to that. Per usual, we've got 6 participants. We'll just start from the bottom and work our way up to the top.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, I don't think anybody was 0-3 either. Well, yeah, nobody was 3-0. Nobody was 0-3. The even, I suppose, tournament in that regard. So anyway, yes, 6th place, Anemoy, who is here in the chat with us now, I believe, with Silverstream White.
Does look like a solution white to me. It has bodyguards and all the goodies.
Yeah, pink white. That's what it is these days. So Anemoy was my second? Yeah, second match, for what it's worth. I was in the tournament. Anyone who didn't, we'll get into my deck later. It was my second match, I think. And he did manage to pull out Silverstream Cheerleader. He made Silverstream Cheerleaders, in fact, actually work that game, which was, well, something.
From what I can see, it's just by having multiple of them, right?
No, actually, he played Sandbar into Silverstream. That would work.
Oh, there's a sound like yeah, right. They don't work when there's multiple of them. They have to be different name. I forgot.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I missed Sandbar there.
Yeah, did a fair number of take control effects, actually. Was a little bit annoying, if I was to be honest.
Do you want Berry Punch back? Sounds like you want Berry Punch back.
Um, Pass.
I would love to see tender taps here. Look at all these cards that cost 2 or less.
It's a pretty good point. Be a good way. Wait, Ender Taps goes directly into the field, right?
Yep.
That'd be an interesting way to get Mrs. Cake into play, actually.
Yeah, you can do that. You can just get her with tender taps. But like, there's other good value options here as well. There's like Silverstream, which we already mentioned. Patimer is great. Bodyguard is great. Captain Vaz is also okay. Like, if you really want to TM control, you can like reuse Captain Vaz for that. Basically, use tender taps as rarity exposed.
Yeah, give me a second here. GP is saying in chat he doesn't hear sound.
I think I have sound on stream. At least I can hear myself.
Everything looks correct from the OBS setup, and Animoy says he's got it, so...
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, GP. There was a
Welcome.
Windows update just like last night, and so I'm on tenterhooks to make sure the audio is working, but good. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you
There's
there,
a
Hithroc.
heart attack there. But yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just like finishing the thought that like tender taps is just, I think, has a lot of potential in this deck, given how many things are good to recurse here.
Hmm? Yeah, and well, one thing that came up over our game and then over the course of the tournament is like the high rec cards. He did have a little bit of an issue getting his 4 pink red cards consistently into play. And that is one way around it, I suppose.
That's weird because like a single pink card will give enough rec, right? Given if your
Yeah,
main is flipped,
if your main slipped, yeah. Which, yeah,
which it is, right?
Silverstream is a relatively trivial thing to play most
Yes.
of the time.
So yeah, I don't like if you told me, like if you gave me this deck and asked like, does this deck have an issue playing 4 rec cards? I would say probably not, because like a single pink card will be enough to get the 4 rec,
Hmm.
and there are like plenty of them here. So I don't know. Now white though, yeah, I can see how white can, like, it's gonna work. Is a little maybe awkward card because all of the white cards here are even the entry Fire of Friendship, right?
Right.
They give you
Only gets to
2
2.
white.
Yeah.
So you need 2 of them to play it's gonna work. So it's gonna work with like, it's kind of like a fictional 4 rec in that way, right? Because you're always gonna have already 2 or 4. Or I guess Bodyguard can give you a unicorn, so there's that.
Yeah, right. But for the most part, yeah, going in increments of 2. You're gonna need 2 pieces of white.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna work. Sure.
So yeah. But still, like, it's gonna work as a good card, right? It's Troublemaker recursion, and the removal, and there's that third effect nobody uses.
Uh, oh, right.
It
The
reduces instant
confronting
requirements.
front rec.
I
He
think I've
used it
used it
against
like,
me once.
oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, that was amazing. I mean, I'm not saying it's like not used at all,
Right.
but usually not. Not in this deck for sure,
Yeah.
unless you really want to draw cards with Silverstream. But yeah, anyhow, well, it's pink white, cool
Hmm.
deck.
And for what it's worth, in the Animoy, what was your tie? It was with Bugle, I think, right?
Yeah, because I think Beagle is the only person who has a tie. Yep.
Right. And Bugle will next. No, no. Oh, yeah. We'll get to that. Do you wish to move on, I suppose, then?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Oh, 5th place then. Smithers.
Smithers playing Shoeshine. I'm surprised. Not.
Hmm. Now, Smithers was my first match of the tournament. And it was well, we both know that I should have won. I don't mean to brag, but um, oops, sorry, I just put back in there. Basically, at the end of last turn, I had an 8-power Rockhoof and a 6-power main with staff, and a 6 to confront problem and a 7 to confront problem, and he had no
Okay.
AT.
Yeah, that sounds like a double face-off, right?
Right, but I moved my characters to the wrong problems,
Oh,
and I had 2 AT left and another character in hand and a spike at home, and I just didn't win.
well, yeah, you gotta pay attention to where you move.
Yep, yep.
See,
It was unfortunate. Anyway, but his deck was well positioned to come back. He won on the turn right afterwards. Did the efficient thing with Shoeshine and Billy. Sorry, 2 on the team. That's the one. Right? Well, kind of works if you don't have many counters on Shoeshine yet.
yeah,
It's not a Pegasus deck anymore. Still has a number of Pegasi in it, but that's fine. Philly Racers doesn't care about Pegasi. It just is +1 power to everybody.
yeah. So Cloudshairs and Fleeter, like we've had blue-yellow decks that are not Pegasi before. But yeah, I think this looks like a pretty standard blue-yellow deck. There's like nothing too new here.
The Grogar's Lair is actually the only. No, Rush Makeover 2. Besides that, it's the only New Dawn cards. Nope, Fluttershy, the rabbit Fluttershy.
Yeah, and blue-yellow. Like I know what to say. It's blue-yellow.
It's blue yellow, yeah. The basic
Oh, there's
idea of the
also a
deck.
dilemma here, but yeah, it's a good dilemma, like the blue one
Right, the AT
in your
breaker
card.
one. Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, blue-yellow.
Oh, and then final question as well as a new problem, which
Which I mean, you run if you play blue. I think
mhm, pretty much. Well, trying to think if there's a blue deck out there that isn't super
doesn't
like
want
maybe
to go this.
well like that isn't necessarily gonna jump on it right away to like have a high probability of getting that bonus. Like a slower deck with a T-Rex main maybe might not be so willing to have
Yeah,
that in there.
maybe not. But
But yeah, for something like
this
this,
is not that deck.
this is not that deck. Yeah, absolutely. It is notably a little bit like with a yellow main, the fact that it requires the 4 blue makes it a little bit harder to confront. Um, because Fluttershy like is
well,
max going to contribute essentially 2 power to it.
but like the thing about that is like most of the relevant friends here are blue.
Mhm.
Only yellow friends are like small ones, which you like. Brian is just a protect. Like you don't really use Brian to confront stuff, right? I guess Bunny, like, but still, like Bunny is just 1 power, and like Gummy and Fluttershy is just something you get for free. I think that's why they're in this deck, right?
Hmm.
And everything else is blue. It's just straight up blue.
Yeah, and never underestimate Philly Racers. That can just you can generate a lot of
Yes.
power out of very little AT still in blue yellow,
Yes. Not just
especially
very little AT, but one less AT too.
yeah, absolutely. Especially with something like bring out your best on the field. Um, Notably, I believe Smithers had to make this choice a couple times in our match, and it's something of a toss up. Well, it not a toss up per se, but it's depending on your board state whether you choose Pegasi or Critter on that problem. Or
Yeah,
actually,
and like
I think he might have actually chosen Earth Pony once.
for Shushan, but
That's
like,
for
did he really need that one extra power in Shushan? If I just
I mean,
moved her.
his board was relatively empty, I think,
Uh,
but
yeah, Shushan must consume.
this is true. But otherwise, he was well, yeah, beat me that one game and then 1-1 otherwise. So, or wait, no, I'm thinking of a different 1-2.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
think that's the only game he won. But doesn't mean blue yellow is not played.
Oh, absolutely not.
But I am happy to see this list Meadowbrook free. It's like it's a very beautiful sight. Do you want to move to the Beagle Stack then?
Sure. On to Bugle Stack. Went on stream, saw a brief flicker of it. Accidentally put it up there.
Is this the deck he posted on Reddit earlier?
I believe so. I don't know if I didn't study that deck too closely, so I'm not sure if he made any minor changes to it or not. Let's go find his primary, see if it's the same list. Nope.
The book you're
Banner
looking for
stuff.
is
Here it
I'm
is.
the main you
Yeah,
need.
yeah. Here's the deck. So, Capper, same problem. This looks identical. Yeah, exact same. So for anyone who didn't read that article that Bugle made, or is totally unfamiliar with what Capper does, given that he's kind of been MIA for the last as long as
Forever.
he's been in the game. The basic idea is that you have a reasonable amount of even cards in your deck, because that's what Capper cares about. When he flips over, you get to take a card out of your discard for each even card among the top 5 cards of your deck. And you get to, well, bring back lots of events, bring back Tempest to flip your main back over and do it again. And you do control with it. Pretty much.
So yeah, like Capper is basically used like this kind of elaborate f stop,
Pretty much, yeah.
and most of the cards here are indeed even.
Mhm.
Not all of them though.
Not all of them. But the ones that are odd are cards that are very difficult to replace and really high value cards. Spoons, it's going to work. Belly flop, staff, Rogar, all
Yeah,
kind of singular in terms of the value that they can generate.
and some of these cards will probably be in your discard pile, and those are the cards you're going to be recursing, right? So, like, if they're there, that means they're not in the deck, so you can't get them.
That's actually a really fair point that I hadn't really thought of before. That, like, yeah, if you're playing a Capper deck and you got to include some odd cards, at least make them the cards that you're going to be playing at as much as possible, because you want the even cards to be in your deck and the odd cards to be in your discard pile.
Yes.
Interesting. Grandpa's mentions in chat about turn 2 spoons, and I'm actually looking. How do you do that on turn back again?
You play fire and then you play spoons.
Oh, yeah, I guess that works. That's the easiest way to do it. Oh, oh, right, you start surprise concert. Yeah, that also works. Troublemaker plus spoons. Yeah, that's the more, more tempo-ish way of doing it.
Wait, what does surprise concert do again?
It is the white only problem when you play uh, something that's not a friend. A character gets +2 power.
Ah, yeah. But fireworks too.
It does. It does. You would prefer to be having your fire go towards pink,
Yes.
given that, well,
And like playing a troublemaker is just generally better
yeah,
because
yeah, for sure.
you're gonna have a troublemaker.
2 pink is the big level for most of his off-color cards. He does have the transform effect on Skystar, or well, just one of them. He has the eccentric hasty Skystar come off of Friend to the End. Doesn't have the Skystar loop, but I mean, whatever. That's never been a thing, really.
Yeah. Is Discord here for like searching a specific problem, or is it just
Uh,
a cheaper problem? Well, I guess it's not cheaper than bait and switch, and it has the same deck. So
well, it's immediate speed though. That's the major selling point of Discord over bait and switch.
yeah, but it's proactive.
Mhm.
But like, if you want replacement versus, well, I guess versus farm, you wait for them to challenge and then replace. But I think, like, I feel like replacing on your turn kind of does the same thing. Maybe it's that you like, unlike replacing on your turn, you can delay this as long as you need to, right? Until they challenge. But why wouldn't they? They just want you to do it at the like they want to spend your Discord,
Hmm.
so you don't have it anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose in that case, it does come down to the uh, residual benefit of the like bait and switch gives you a three power,
Yes.
3 power after the fact, and eccentric 2 versus 2 power before the fact, and the ability to search up a problem.
Yeah.
Which there are
I mean,
certainly problems in here that are uh, effective that you would want in certain circumstances.
yeah, I guess like against farm, you'd probably find like Seeking the Scepter, right? And Mystery at Hope's Hollow is always a good card to have,
Hmm.
given how many colorless cards are here. Not a single aloe though.
Hmm. Prospecting interruption, Grandpa points out, is just good basically all the time.
Yeah. Imagine if we had Blackmail. Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah.
I don't think you would ever not find the Blackmail with Discord.
Um.
You know what? Maybe there's a room for deck in Harmony, right? Where you like your entire strategy is to have blackmails forever by just playing Discord over and over again. And like it's not that hard to do. Well, I mean,
Well, you do banish him to use his effect.
you only banish him to replace the problem.
Oh,
But like if
okay, okay, fair enough, fair enough.
like the only problem here is that you have to play him from your hand to actually search. So you can't like use tender taps or something. But still, maybe like there's a room for a deck like that that just abuses blackmail like that. Guarantee that Beagle has already like freely.
Would not be surprised. But
Sure.
I mean, go ahead, give it a try. I'm sure
Yeah, that sounds fun.
there must be a Harmony tournament coming up, maybe the next OnlineCon or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But well, for anyone who wants to know more about this list, as mentioned, Beagle posted a lengthy article about it on Reddit several weeks ago.
It was the link in chat.
Oh, nice. Thank you. And
Yeah, I do love some control.
who doesn't? Doesn't like reconstructing f-stop? I know I like it a lot. Alrighty.
All right.
Yeah, next up is a deck that we're not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about because we talked about it a fair bit last week. That being mine.
Yeah, we've kind of explored it
Mhm.
2 weeks ago.
I will say, if I recall correctly, last time you had made a couple of suggestions. Oh shoot, I changed it out again. That's Grandpa's deck.
Spoilers.
There we go. Oh, I just pasted G. We'll get to you in a second, GP. Probably a literal second. Okay, there it is. So I'll say that I seriously considered Sunset. And
Mhm.
I actually forgot about the Tempest suggestion you had made till after I was done with the tournament. But I decided to try this one out, just to see if there were any cards that stood out as not performing as well, that could get replaced with Sunset. And I'm not quite sure. I mean, I guess it was only 3 games. Maybe there's more options, more time to consider. I did notice that you at least have to be a little bit careful with Torque Wrench. I love the card. It's great resource removal, but in an aggro list where you're looking to confront problems, it is a little bit of a non-combo that she exhausts to get rid of the resource.
Yes.
Yeah. And one thing is that this deck doesn't have that many friends in it, really. And so in particular against opponents that do have some amount of removal, it's not particularly surprising. It's not uncommon for you to get into a late game situation where you've only got 2 or 3 friends, and it might and you don't have any more left in hand, and you might just not have enough stuff to confront the problems anymore. In in
Mm,
in particular, if you haven't hit a Celestia yet. If you have hit a Celestia yet, then you're probably good.
but for those cases, it could run School Shutdown to reshuffle, just to use it as basically juggling routine, right? Where
Mm,
you reshuffle all of the stuff back. Unless the deck you're facing against doesn't dismiss friends but banishes them, then
right.
there's no.
Or if
But I
there's
did.
a Somnambulous Blindfold in play, which luckily I haven't faced against. Well, I mean, but
But I mean, that's a lot of things that need to happen there, right? You need to have all of your friends removed. There must be a Somnambulous Blindfold in play, which you can't remove with your resource removal. Like, there's a lot of conditions that need to happen, and yes, they can happen, but at the same time, I think they're not that likely.
mhm, yeah, I'll just say that the 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 combo of Legacy Leech into Celestia is still amazing, and I love it. And it's just such a turnaround where you suddenly have the ability to confront anything. Let's see, Starlight Headmare, or wait,
It's the talented one.
oh Future Headmare. Um, yeah, I'll admit that I actually didn't find many uses to play her. because she is she's a 1-for-1 power, so it's not inefficient per se. But it's true that I could probably take her out for one of the either Progressive Unity Tempest or Sunset. They are both still unicorns, so my unicorn synergy for Hyper Beam would still exist, and they're well, Sunset is a better, more power efficient play.
The cool thing about Sunset is it just straight up confronts two of your problems,
Yes.
and confronts some other problems with like a little bit of help for just free AT. Like I really like Sunset. She's very cost efficient, has a cool effect, and Meticulous too. Like you know what? Like I think Meticulous 2 might actually be a better value here in this deck than the
Right.
Starlight Talented effect. Yes, you're playing a lot of events, which does mean there's a lot of opportunity for Starlight to trigger. But at the same time, Meticulous 2 synergizes really well with your main. Since you have two options,
Yeah.
and before revealing.
Yeah. Good point. Points. We'll that's yeah. We'll see when the next core tournament is that I decide to put this in, or anybody else, and anybody else is free to use it too if they want. But yeah, that I
No, it's a private copyrighted list. If you use it, I will sue you.
for what it's worth, I'll just say I've been looking a little bit at the potential like ways to do this in Harmony, and in Harmony you have card like Applejack's Epiphany is actually a really great card for this list in Harmony for what it's worth, because the already a character is like is going to be relatively useful. You do actually have a lot of characters here that exhaust. And Twilight's Epiphany is also like exactly what the deck wants: card draw and purple event. And
Yeah.
anyway, promise not to talk too much about this deck. Let's go to Grandfather's list because um, well, it is something new. It is actually well, no one has played Reanimator in a tournament for a reasonably lengthy amount of time. The last one that I could find was Continentals last year, where Max played it, and this deck is a little bit different from that list. Bring it up here.
Well, for one, it probably doesn't have Meadowbrooks.
Well, yeah, the Meadowbrook is one big one that's missing, but he also, like that list had the Singleton Torch, Singleton Zomphonies, a Meadowbrooks. He changed out the Rainbow Generator and the Fire of Friendships for Rushed Makeover.
Which makes sense. Really good card.
Yeah. And actually, well, yeah, that's the keeping the 3 copies of Cluestown Citizen. Those are your wild card entry now.
The arrow is then also a way to get things like into your discard pile. Like I think it's hard to not have them in this deck because it's hard to reanimate things if you don't have them in your discard pile.
Mm-hmm. And the other big one, and GP put some comments on Reddit that to this effect, clarifying things. The big addition is the Pinky Tricorn. Takes this list up to 3 Tricorn, 4 instead of 3 as it was before. Is also a enormous threat.
Yes.
Because of course it is. It is a reasonably good way of dealing with troublemakers, given that to her ability you pick a troublemaker and half the time it's going to go away. and one of the times it loses its abilities too, which is relatively relevant, in particular if it's a Grogar.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Let me see what else. He's augmented the removal in the deck a little bit. Postal Mare is new, and is another great thing to hit off of Orchard Blossom or any of your Reanimator effects. Cut down on the sort of low end of the deck a little bit. 3 copies of Smoldering Sandbar became 2. See, I guess maybe that's it. Maybe that's it.
Maybe to make room for friendship summons.
Right, that's correct. Added the Friendship Summons as well, which will hit can hit Applejack, Twilight, or Pinkie Pie, which are all,
Which is a lot.
yeah, all pretty great ideas.
Like, since Applejack is singleton, like tutoring her when you really need her is good.
Hmm?
And if you don't need Applejack, then Twilight or Pink are always a great option.
Yeah, as if he mentions in chat, if you start your if you start your main with white, which is
Mm-hmm.
one of the, it is probably the correct choice most of the time, and then discard Pinkie Pie to Kluge Town, you have all your colors for Catchy Song,
Yeah.
which can get you back Pinkie or anything.
So I'm kind of curious about High Alert. Like, do you want to bring your stuff back into your hand? Isn't that kind of the opposite of what you want to do? Or is it just to get your reanimator effects back?
Um,
But like to get them back, they have to be in your discard pile in the first place, right?
right. Well, so the events, you can get those back.
True, true.
Or um, anything that has been dismissed or discarded yourself, like your Orchard Blossoms or your Smoldering Stars. Maybe those are small concerns. Your Troublemakers also maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Did you find that people were actually triggering it? Like, or did the like that was my problem with High Alert. Like, it's really hard to use because sometimes when you play it, they're just not gonna play anything, and more often than not, well, I'm not gonna say not more often than not, probably, but like since you keep the AT, like it's not magic, right? Where you just skip a turn basically. Like if you skip a turn, it's not that big of a deal since you still keep your resources.
Isn't that the tech though? You play High Alert in a blue-white deck, so even if they skip, you hit them with Stuck Together next turn. All right, Anamoy points out too that in a tournament environment, time is a resource.
True, true. But okay.
And yeah, as DP mentions as well, it's the turn to establish your board state, in particular with this deck, can be pretty major. Like keep their AT, but then you get a cadence into play, and suddenly they're delayed even more if they're planning on using
Yeah.
those AT on events.
Hmm. But like with Legacy Leeches around, might be not as much stuff you can get back even. I don't know. I'm not too convinced on Hyler.
Well, I mean, DP had said there that 3 is probably a few many. Huh, fair point. Mentioning
Why
that.
wouldn't you play Golden Parachute in this deck? Like
Well,
it's
I mean, he
you're discarding things.
true, but usually you just like, especially in the past, you just discarded it. You never actually Never actually played it. Board. But yeah, it has been traditionally a strong match, a strong deck.
Yeah.
Usually, well, can ease. I don't know about easily. Well, depending on easily, if you high roll your Orchard Blossom, create a board state that can be very difficult to deal with.
Yes.
And yeah, got to pack your removal. So this deck has a chance to be in there.
Yeah, although this deck sometimes makes things really hard to remove.
That's true as well.
That's okay. School Shutdown is always there to fix all of the things.
If you
Except
have to,
Twilight, I guess we can't really shut down Twilight,
well, yeah.
which makes flavorful sense. You were saying?
No, no, no. I mean, I was just gonna say, yeah, school shut down if you have to hit the panic button. But
All right. Do you
yeah,
wanna
sure, yeah.
go to the next list?
Next list. Now it's all of these lists in the top three were all 2-1. The ordering was determined by tiebreakers. Um, but yes, our list in number one, Instagram, who is a regular feature at these OnlineCon events, playing a relatively interesting white list. He was my third game, I will say,
Some
and
Embers. I like it.
yeah, well, so we kind of traded blows for a little while. Just kind of back and forth confronts. I was kind of thinking, okay, aggro versus aggro, and then suddenly I looked up and he was like 5 points ahead of me, um, kind of out of nowhere, off of a Scootaloo and a DFO, basically. Um, and
It's Granny Smith and tough questions thing right here,
uh,
right?
well, that's part of it. He has multiple options with Granny Smith, either Daybreaker or Scootaloo, both work. Uh,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, and actually tough questions. Yeah, same thing. But yeah, he has the ability to farm a little bit in there as well with the Grogar and the Legion of Doom
And Ember
and Ember, yes. And
and Flash Magnus Shield. Oh my god, this is
yeah,
a good deck.
plenty of friends and resources that benefit that kind of a style. Um, totally capable of playing, for what it's worth, the main as well. Wonderbolt with the +2 flips.
Yes. Yeah, it's unlikely this deck will be losing face-offs.
Hmm,
That's why I think like the Grogar, not the Grogar Troublemaker, the one that exhausts to gain AT, like probably not too big of a deal for this deck if it's exhausted, right? Because like if you have your main flipped and there's an Ember in play that's already like 5 power
hmm,
alone without even a flip, right? And if you have Flash Magnus Shield, that's 9 power out of just nowhere.
right. 12 power Troublemaker, effectively.
Well, not if Grogar is exhausted, which I think
Sure,
you
sure.
do exhaust, right?
Usually, yes. But still, 9. Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's like 9 with an exhausted Troublemaker. It's crazy. So yeah, this kind of thing is why I really like the Ember and Flash Magnus Shield, is that they're asymmetrical cards like that, that like for your opponent, they're really annoying to deal with, but they actually help you as well.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's been one of the strong points of blue. Usually farm, the kind of quasi farm list like you like to make, and like this one here, kind of
Yeah.
enable those lists to exist. Really,
Yes.
Does have a lot of blue events as well that will work for his Dirac friend, or well, even more of that persistent face-off power. Yeah.
Yeah, basically this deck I want to win face-offs, but I don't want to be competitive about it.
That is well said. Well said. With the single exception of Daybreaker, no actual
Yes.
competitiveness in this deck, despite
Nope.
being very face-off oriented.
Yeah, but so many like face-off boosts, it's like I just don't see how this deck can even lose face-offs, can it?
I mean, I think I managed to hit him with a heat wave one. Was like how I
Uh,
yeah. But otherwise, yeah. And the interesting thing I think is like if you're not familiar with this list going into it, he might like say open up with a couple troublemakers, and you're thinking okay, relatively control stuff, but then suddenly suddenly aggro happens with um Loyal Pony and Rarity, Generous Pony at Daybreaker and Scootaloo, or Farm happens. Like the deck can play a lot of different ways.
yeah. But
The
like that's kind of the blue purple white what blue purple white did, right? It's like
mhm,
it played this very heavy control game in the early game, and then suddenly it turned around into farm scoring like 7 points in one turn
right.
because you farm like two troublemakers and then do a double face off.
The problem deck is pretty like scoring oriented, high bonuses, relatively low confronts.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, super
I
cool
guess
deck.
down the drain is a little controlish, but otherwise, yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's probably the most control oriented of them,
yeah.
and it's still only 6 to you.
But yeah, cool list. I love lists that like use Ember. If your list has an Ember, I like it for good reasons.
Well, I mean, I clarify, I guess. You mean the ultra rare blue ember? There are other embers.
There aren't other Embers. Nobody told me.
Yeah, there's the other embers are there now. Two at
Well,
least.
there's the orange one
The
that gives like dragons things.
there's the SR orange one and the orange entry one from New Dawn.
Yes. Oh,
Uh, that might be it actually. I can't think of any more.
isn't there a tricorn Ember?
Oh, correct, correct. The Tricorn Ember. Yes. Oh, that's a shame. That's one of my favorite cards. Uh,
Yeah, tricorn Ember is pretty good. It was even better when it was exhaust to end face off, and that's it. That was so good.
Okay. Well, so yeah, as we kind of said off the top of the broadcast, relatively small event. I would have liked to have a few more people there, but very good diversity.
Yeah.
We had aggro, we had troll, we had no pure farm per se, but farming ish lists.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a pretty good range of different ways to do aggro and different ways to do a farm. So yeah, pretty good. Hope to have more tournaments like that in the future.
Yeah. Tournaments are always a tons of fun.
Hmm. Yeah, but we expect, well, certainly the way things have been going, to have another one next month, and hopefully, maybe sometime later in the summer, a real IRL tournament at a con. Who knows?
Wow,
I'm starting to get
let's not get
hopeful
too
that it might happen.
let's not go too far with this. Like,
I know,
we don't need to be too hasty with that.
speculative, but I'm starting to get hopeful.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard, there's like a chance that Everfree Northwest is gonna happen this year, but we'll see. And I think if it will actually happen, there'll probably be something there, right?
It has traditionally been kind of a tentpole event
Mm-hmm.
when it happens. So fingers crossed. Still, yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, that's it for this stream. I think
Mm-hmm.
we will be back in 2 weeks with probably another one of our discussion streams. I imagine. Get the link. We thank you everyone for coming out and being with us. If you want to catch this stream or any of our past ones, you can find us on YouTube over here. While there, feel free to subscribe or send us a comment or yada 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 YouTube stuff. Otherwise, I have been Cursor Chords.
I've been Hithroc.
We'll see ya in a fortnight.
Bye.